Hello, everybody. You could call me Hunch. And if you know me, you know that I talk about crypto. I talk about stocks a little bit, some altcoins, but a bit of a Bitcoin maxi. But nonetheless, I'm going to be talking about a different topic today. And I think there's just a lot to learn from it. You know, it's not investment advice. It's nothing. It's just, and it may even sound a little bit conspiratorial. I am not a conspiratorial type guy. You know, but then again, conspiracy theories can be false. They could be true in the long run. They could be false in the short term, or true in the short term and then false in the long term, right? But today I'm going to be talking about the Federal Reserve and inflation, and why I think that the Federal Reserve may be causing a lot of inflation on purpose, right? So if you're like me and you've driven around, you've gone to restaurants, blah, 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 some have been shut down because they have labor shortages, and some increase their wait times, and you see these help wanted signs over, they're hiring for all shifts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So why do I think this happened? I think when we had this, national health crisis, a lot of people quit their jobs, they switched jobs, they went to work from home, and, it caused a lot of problems, right? And for the lower paying jobs, and also the government gave away money, and they gave a lot of benefits, and people reduced their consumption and all that, right? On top of that, everyone talks about inflation. A lot of products in the United States have become deflationary over time, right? Because increases in the ability in technology to make those products, right? It's become more efficient and cost less, right? And then we outsource labor, et cetera, et cetera. So there's deflationary forces on those products, right? So people, don't necessarily have to work as much to afford to live, basically, because I'm sure a lot of people in the world have just said, it's not worth it to kill myself. I can survive on less, et cetera. Okay, so I'm sure everybody's heard of this, the Great Resignation. People are quitting all over the world to work online, to work less, to pursue their dreams, right? Information and education is abundant online for free. People don't just become workers because they realize, becoming a worker leads to lower satisfaction with my life. I may die sooner than everyone else, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? I can do it another way, right? And then you could see that. So what's going on? The Federal Reserve, the government has been able to stimulate the economy to have tons and tons of jobs open. But why are people not taking them, right? So that's the $1 million question. And I think the Federal Reserve truly has some idea, right? The national health crisis, deflationary forces, you name it, right? Or they have immigration problems or whatever. But I think the Federal Reserve knows exactly what it's doing, right? I think that they have this thing called the Phillips curve, right? And this doesn't always hold true, right? It's kind of a theoretical thing. But basically, if you look at this, you could see that in order to lower unemployment, right, you force inflation, right? Because what happens when you make everything cost more, people are forced to work. So it's kind of like the Fed is a puppet, right? And they go, okay, not enough people are working, more people are being rebellious, et cetera. They're doing more things. The economy needs more workers here. So how can we force them through sleight of hand to do that, right? And I think they've realized it's going to take a lot more inflation to get people to go back to work, right? I think a lot of people are living for less. They're selling their houses. They're on the road. They're living in their vans. They're living in RVs. They're living with their parents. They're realizing it, in some respects, that it's just not worth it to work that much. And then, at the end of your life, you just die, right? And if you could see over time, people are working less and less, right? When the production line came out, remember, people used to work 10, 12, 15 hours a day, 6 days a week, right? Around when Henry Ford was around. And over time, we've come to the 40-hour work week. We're trying to get to the 32-hour work week, blah, 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 blah. Now, those are all good for our health, but what you're seeing now, I think, is a lot of openings that can't be filled. And so what I think the Fed is doing without telling you, because if they told you they were doing it, they would get a ton of pushback. There would probably be riots, right? if they straight up told you we are causing inflation to force you to work, right? But I think that's exactly what they're doing with this. And I think this Phillips curve, there's tons of different data points to look at. But I think the Federal Reserve knows exactly what it's doing. And I think they're doing it on purpose. And they are going to do it until they get what they want, which is you to blow all your savings and raise the cost of living, right? Which has been going down in terms of food and things like that. People adapt, right? Right? Not necessarily housing, but they're raising even that in order to force us back to work. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not trying to judge on the ethics of that. I think there's probably some complexities I don't understand. There's probably a lot of things that I'm missing. I'm just giving a simple juxtaposition of these ideas next to each other so you can make your own judgments. You can form your own thoughts. Come up with your own ideas. I'm just saying, I think... And this is where it sounds conspiratorial. I think the Fed is forcing massive amounts of inflation because they just can't get people to work. People think the game is rigged. People don't want to go to the office. People don't want to go to the low-paying jobs. People are too smart, right? In the old days, information wasn't available. They were dumb. They thought they had to do these things, right? They had to listen to their superiors. They had to work for those people in order to survive. And people are realizing, they're like, no, I don't. I don't want to do that, right? And then on top of that, right, these are some of the things I may miss. There's a lot of baby boomers retiring. There's, immigration has been under fire, whether we have a lot, I'm not going to go into all that, but there's a lot of forces that are pushing people not wanting to work, I think. And the Fed is like, oh, crap, we need to drain these people's life savings so much that they're forced to work. And then they'll raise interest rates, right? When people have nothing left, right? When they see that there's nothing left and people have spent everything they have, that's when they're going to raise interest rates. That's just a thought. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's false, but that's what I think. You could call me Hunch. Have a great day.